Welcome back, Camily. When I turned 20, I filmed a video titled 20 Life Lessons I've Learned in 20 Years. And I just liked that video a lot. And I've had several people tell me that they really enjoyed that video as well. So I figured, even though I missed last year, I would bring it back around and do 22 life lessons I've learned in my 22 years. Because if you didn't know, I just turned 22. 22 is a fun age. I feel like turning 21 is like, oh, you're just like really starting to be an adult and be seen as one. But 22 is like, wow, you're a real adult now. I don't know, something about being 22 makes 21 seem so juvenile. And that happens every year that I age. I'm like, oh, I was just a baby back then. But yeah, no, 22 feels old but still really young. But old enough to be like, okay, here I am, and I have so much ahead of me. I think it's gonna be a really great year. I really like having my birthday be about a month after New Year's, because it's kind of just like another gust of energy in my life, you know? The first life lesson we have is just do the thing now. If I catch myself thinking, oh, I really need to get around to doing that thing, and especially if it's a thing that can get done pretty fast, just do it then and there, the second you think about it. Don't wait until you've thought about it like 16 times. Next life lesson is that it takes about 5 minutes after you enter a room to forget that your outfit is silly. I really enjoy dressing in fun outfits. I love trying out different styles. I always love a good statement piece. But oftentimes, like, my outfits are silly. I'm not gonna say they're not. But that's the whole point. I like dressing silly. It makes me happy and it reminds me that it's not that serious. And it is kind of exposure therapy for my social anxiety to go out wearing these silly outfits. But when I'm getting dressed and I'm putting on my silly little outfit and I'm kind of questioning like, am I really gonna go out in public and wear this? Is it too silly? You know? You gotta ask yourself. But every time I wear the silly outfit, I get there, I walk in the room, maybe some heads will turn, maybe some people will be like, damn, that's a silly outfit. But after you're there and you establish your presence, it's over, you know? And just like that, I forget I'm even wearing a silly outfit. And I just feel like me. It's an expression of how I'm feeling that day. And it also just doesn't matter. Like, people may acknowledge in their heads, whoa, that's crazy. Don't see that kind of outfit every day, but then they move on and then you're just there, happy and being you. So yeah, it takes 5 minutes. Everyone forgets about it, even you. I thought I just deleted my note. The next lesson is that it's cool to care about the right things. The way I've gone about learning a lot of these life lessons is going to both extremes. I can be a pretty extreme person, and sometimes it takes me going to one end of the spectrum and then to the other extreme end of that spectrum, and then taking both of those experiences and meeting somewhere in the middle. And there was a point in my life where I cared way too much about everything, and then there was a point where I just had this attitude and I was like, I don't care about anything. Like, how lame to care. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not lame to care. It's cool to care. Definitely leaning more towards caring, but there are certain things that you should just not care about. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what you should and shouldn't care about and what should and shouldn't be important to you. I'm just saying it's important to figure that out for yourself. And if you care about something very deeply, it is very cool to care. It's in. What's out is that attitude of, it's so lame to care. No, it's not. It's actually cool. You should try it. You should try caring. It's fun. Like, I really care about birthdays and Christmas and Valentine's Day and Halloween and celebrations. Those days are special days, and a lot of people don't care and they're like, those are silly and not important, but I like making a big deal. It's something to look forward to and it's fun and I care. So if you really care about something that a lot of people find silly, don't let them make you feel silly for caring. It's cool. Okay, next. When you're doing something that's just not easy or fun, try and remind yourself why you're doing that thing. I just think life becomes a little bit easier when you emphasize the meaning behind your actions. I'm putting work towards doing this thing because I want this result. Even with the little monotonous things, remind yourself why you do them, why they're important. This especially helps me when it comes to just day-to-day chores, which can feel just so irritating to do again and again every day. When I'm folding and putting away the laundry, I remind myself that I'm doing this so it'll be a little easier when I get dressed tomorrow. So I can open a drawer full of clean clothes instead of digging through the clean laundry basket. It'll be easier to find things and I'll appreciate it later. Makes it just a little bit easier. Our strengths are another person's weaknesses and vice versa. At 22 years old, this lesson feels like, yeah, I learned that a long time ago. That's kind of like something you're taught as a child. Everyone has their strengths, everyone has their weaknesses. But in the age we live in with social media, it really is important as an adult to really remind yourself when you're comparing yourself to someone else. Yeah, they seem to be doing really well at this thing. They're succeeding in this way and I'm not. But I'm sure there's areas in your life where you're doing better than them. And also it's not a competition. We just all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And the amazing thing is that we're always growing and changing and working on things. If there's something we want to get better at, we can. It might not necessarily be our strength, but we can always learn and flex that muscle a little bit and get better. There's really no need to compare yourself to anyone. We are all just dealing with the cards we got dealt. Applying that mindset that we learned so young really does help in adulthood, especially coming into early adulthood where everyone's at a different stage. Some people are just graduating college and some of us never went to college and we're figuring something else out. It's hard not to compare, especially when you grew up with these people and it seems as though we did have the same cards dealt, but they have their strengths and you have your strengths and everyone has their weaknesses. The next life lesson is that you cannot bully and shame your way to success. At least for me, I do not do well with negative reinforcement. It doesn't motivate me. It doesn't make me want to try harder. It makes me want to give up, actually, more than anything. So I've learned if that doesn't work when it comes from other people, why would I think I could just bully myself into success, into achieving the thing I want to achieve? When I look back at the times that I've thrived in life, where I felt supported, where I felt motivated, it's always been when I've had a support system behind me cheering me on. Positive reinforcement and self-love and self-compassion will get you so much further. First of all, if you don't journal, I highly recommend journaling. This outlook really changed the way that I journal. Just because you write it down doesn't mean you need to read it. I just got a new journal and I call it my stream of consciousness journal. I don't try to sound smart. I don't try to even spell properly. I just take my thoughts as they come and write them down as fast as I can and as sloppily as I need to. Because I'm not gonna read it after. I'm just trying to get it out of my head. And it's made journaling feel way less like work and way more like a release. And if you're not really into journaling, this might be a great way to start. A good therapist doesn't make you question if you found a good therapist. So many people will stick with a therapist that they're kind of unsure about, that they don't really know if they click with, just to be nice. And if you're in therapy, you are very likely the type of person who does stuff just to be nice. You're not gonna hurt their feelings, you know? It's their job. And you don't need to ghost them either. Practice telling people about your needs and letting someone know when they don't meet your needs. If you don't click with your therapist, just tell them. Obviously, there's a period of time where you gotta give them a chance, you know, starting a new therapist. I'd say after the first 6 sessions, if you still find yourself questioning, are we a good fit? Are they gonna be able to meet my needs? Do I vibe with their method of therapy? And if you're even questioning it, then it's probably not a good fit. I really wish I learned that lesson sooner. It would have saved me a lot of time and money, and I'd probably be further in my healing. Because when I've had a good therapist, I knew it when I saw it. I was like, this is it. This is a great match. We did some really, really great work together. If you're gonna do something, then do it right. Unless you don't really get much out of doing it right, then don't. Which initially doesn't really make sense. But basically what I'm trying to say is weigh out the pros and cons before you blindlessly put a ton of effort into something. This is something that my dad taught me, and he very much just lives his life this way. Constantly just weighing things out. Like if I put a 75% effort into this, I'm likely to get this much back out of it. Am I okay with that result? I don't know. I'm a very analytical person, and it's in my nature to kind of analyze where I'm putting my energy, where I'm putting effort, where I could probably put a little bit less effort into something and still get an okay result that I'm happy with, and where I'm not putting enough effort in to where I'm not getting a good enough result. But yeah, I don't think it's totally true that if you're gonna do something, you need to do it right. That definitely applies in a lot of cases, but in some cases, you'd probably save yourself some time to just half-ass it, and that's okay. Half-assing things is okay, as long as you're strategic about it. In the year between being 21 and 22, one of the lessons that I learned is to just have one beer. I'm a beer person. I enjoy just having a cold one, you know? And I've grown to really appreciate just having a light buzz going. And I used to not like that feeling at all. I was like, if I'm gonna drink, I wanna get past that feeling. I don't wanna sit at, one beer and have that like buzz. It made me uncomfortable. So if I was drinking, I was having like 2 or 3 beers and, getting a little drunk. I'm well past my getting completely hammered phase. We got that knocked out of the way before I even had kids. Do not drink underage. Especially being in the United States and not being able to legally buy alcohol until 21. Once you finally get there, there's this indulgence. Keep them coming, pour me another one. But now that I've had my moment with that, I really just like having one beer. I don't really want more, But if you're not old enough to drink, just disregard all of that and wait. And then you'll have your moment when you're 21, and then you'll learn that it's nice to just have a single drink with dinner. You're not cool because other people think you're cool. You're cool because you think you're cool. Everything is so subjective. I spent a lot of my life trying to be cool, trying to do things that other people thought were cool, trying to fit in. It never really worked. And if you're always trying to be cool by other people's standards, you're never really gonna get there. And you're never really gonna feel it for yourself and be like, damn, yeah, I'm really cool. But now I just have the things that I find to be really cool, that I really enjoy, and that I feel cool doing, no matter who's perceiving me doing those fun, cool things. I think riding my bike around is really cool. I feel cool when I'm doing it. Look at me, I'm on my bike. And I don't feel cool because I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's watching me on my bike. Look how cool I am. No, I feel cool because I got my music on. I feel like I'm in a music video. I'm just like riding my bike. So intense. And it's cool. My music taste is definitely not for everyone, but I find it to be really cool. I've been getting into crocheting. I think that's one of the coolest things I do. I can make stuff out of yarn. I really like reptiles. I like learning about them. I like seeing different species and learning how they are in the wild. Not everyone sees that as a cool thing, but I think they're cool. Yeah, as long as you feel cool, then you're cool. And it really only matters how you perceive yourself. Overconsumption will very quickly clutter your life with unnecessary crap. I've been really intentional this year with what I purchase. Once you start to recognize all the overconsumption going on around you, it's hard to unsee. And a lot of people want to just live in blissful ignorance and not think about the impact that overconsumption has on our planet. Not only does it destroy our planet, it also just causes unnecessary stress. Owning too many things, having too many choices, having to put all your things somewhere in an organized fashion, it's just unnecessary. I've let go of so many things in this last year, really decluttered, and I feel so much better. It really has been life-changing, and I highly recommend really thinking about what you buy before you buy it, and also just reassessing what you own and what you need. Just because you feel like you know someone, it doesn't mean that you do. And this is something that I've had to remind myself a lot throughout life. There's people from my past that are just kind of mummified in this memory that I have of them. And in my head, that's who they are, because that's all I know of them. And it's kind of sad when you realize people really change. And in a lot of cases, that's good. That's a good thing. Change and growth, I want that for everyone. I've experienced a lot of that in my life, and I'm so glad that I've changed in the way that I have. But because of that change, a lot of people think they know me and they don't really know me anymore. Just like I remember someone to be a certain way, a lot of people remember me to be a certain way. And I don't always appreciate that. It's hard to change and grow and know that the actions of my past will always exist in other people's memories, and for some of them, that's all they'll ever think of me as. One of my favorite sayings is, if you knew me back then and you think you know me now, no you don't. Because it's so true. I am not that person at all. And it can be really frustrating when someone holds you to that. When someone expects you to be a certain way that you were, that you outgrew, but that's still the standard they've set for you. And a lot of the times it's hard to change people's minds about who you are. I think we all just need to hold room for people to grow. Let the memory of someone's past exist. You don't need to let go of it, but recognize that that might not be them anymore. And it makes it a little easier to let go of certain things when you know that person who did that thing to you isn't walking around existing anymore. They might very well be a completely different person now. Just give them the benefit of the doubt. It is okay to have surface level friendships. There was a point where I didn't want to connect with anyone unless it was on a super deep level. I felt it just wasted my time and my energy and my social battery. Why would I want to have small talk with you about insignificant things and nurture this surface level friendship that will never be anything more than that? But those types of friendships can be really fulfilling if you just let them be what they are. I'm a really deep emotional person, and I like to have friends that are also deep and emotional and like to have those kinds of conversations. But sometimes it's nice to have a friend who's just really fun, and you guys just have fun together, and you hang out and you laugh, and nothing's that serious, and it just works. And sometimes it's just nice to have a neighbor that you chat with. You see them every now and then as they're getting their mail. They don't know too much about your life, you don't know too much about their life, but you still find a lot of fulfillment just chatting with them. Find the value in having acquaintances, in having more surface level friends. If you turn away every opportunity for connection that isn't super deep and powerful, you miss out on getting to know someone and getting to hear about their perspective on life. The next life lesson is that you have way more control than you think. I spent so many years feeling like so much of my misery was just out of my control. I was just doing so bad, and I was convinced that there was nothing I could do. And you're really just limiting yourself when you think that way. If you think that all these things are happening to you and it's just out of your control, there's nothing you could do, then that's exactly where you're gonna stay. When I realized how much of my life was actually in my control, I took back my power. My life became my life. Yes, there are certain things that really just are out of your control, and you shouldn't pay those things any mind. But never forget that you're in charge of your life. And this kind of goes into my next life lesson, which is taking responsibility will get you further in life. Once I held myself accountable for certain things, once I realized that I'm the one who's responsible for where I've ended up, only then was I able to make changes and take control. There's something so powerful in being able to say, I messed up. I did this thing. I don't agree with it. I messed up and I'm taking accountability for that. And it's especially remarkable when you can do so without beating yourself up, without having a pity party, without just completely letting your mistakes swallow you. There doesn't need to be any shame. You can forgive yourself and take accountability and let it go and change for the better. Which again kind of ties into this next life lesson, which is that it's okay to change your mind. You can go your whole life thinking a certain way, having a certain belief, and then experiencing something that makes you change your mind. Just because you said or did a certain thing, you don't need to hold your pride and stand by that. You can change your mind, and then you can even change your mind again. There's no limit on how many times you can change your mind about something. In the past, I've felt a resistance to, first of all, admitting that I don't agree with this anymore because it feels like, oh, I messed up. I thought this thing and it's not true and I've changed my mind about it, which means I got it wrong the first time. But we're always learning, and sometimes we come to a conclusion because we only have a few pieces of the puzzle. And as we learn about these other pieces of the puzzle that we didn't even see before, we can see a bigger picture, which makes us change our mind. So there's no reason to feel stupid about it. There's no reason to be prideful about it. And again, I think the world would benefit if we could all just hold more room for people to change their minds, especially when someone's trying to change for the better. We need to let them. We don't need to hold who they were and what they believed against them. This next one sounds very obvious and you've heard it so many times, but you need to drink water. You need to stay hydrated. Our brains don't function properly when we're dehydrated. Our bodies and our minds as a whole just function so much better when we drink water. And I know you feel like you don't need that much water because you're not that thirsty all the time, but your body's just used to not having that much water. Once you start drinking a good amount of water, you start requiring a good amount of water, your body gets used to it, and you're thirsty more often. Life is just better when I drink a good amount of water. It's just true. Go drink water right now. It's important to find balance between protecting your peace and having empathy. In today's day and age, there's a huge focus on therapy, on self-help, on protecting your peace, on being a little selfish, which to an extent I agree. You should focus on you, prioritize yourself and your feelings, and don't expect other people to prioritize you as much as you do. But I've seen people take that a little far and protect their peace to the point where they're just cutting everybody out. If you have bad vibes or negative energy, or you're not on my wavelength, you're just completely cut out. Everyone has their problems, everyone has their issues, everyone has their good times and their bad times, and community and connection is about being there for the people we love while they're going through hard times. And it takes recognizing it and not taking things personally and being able to read people to know that this isn't about me. Sometimes when someone is bringing a certain vibe to the table, it doesn't really have anything to do with you. It's a them thing, and they're working through something, and they're projecting. And it's important to have your boundaries and know what you just simply won't put up with in your life. And if someone's constantly crossing those boundaries, then yeah, you have every right to protect your peace. But I think a lot of us could be a little bit more deliberate and thoughtful and empathetic when setting certain boundaries with people. As you age, expect to mourn your past self over and over again. As you grow, hopefully you change and you evolve as we're supposed to, and then you're left with all these versions of yourself that you don't really align with anymore. They're not really you, and there's some loss in that. There's certain parts of ourselves that we don't really mean to let go of, but we do. And that's for a reason. Just know that it's normal to miss your old self, to look back and be like, wow, I've changed a lot. And I kind of miss who I used to be. It doesn't always mean that you're heading in a bad direction and that you should try and get back to who that person was or you've lost yourself. It just means you're changing and you're growing, and it's really valid to mourn past versions of you. This kind of goes along with what I was saying about overconsumption, but don't replace something until you need to. Just because something has a dink or a scrape or a mark, or there's something kind of wrong with it, but it still works, use it until it doesn't anymore. Just finding the beauty in those little mistakes, in those dents, in the holes in your clothes. Not everything needs to be replaced right away. And the 22nd life lesson I have learned in 22 years is that yesterday is over and it doesn't exist anymore. And with that, tomorrow doesn't exist either. It's the future. It hasn't happened yet, and it's not even real yet. It will be real, I'm sure, but it's not. In this moment, this is the only thing that's real. And being the analytical person that I am, I've really found myself hyperfixating on patterns, on history, on, well, in the past, this, and this has been true, so I can expect this. And that can be important. Sometimes I think it's important to look back and analyze the past and where you've been and how you got to where you are. But just because in the past something happened a certain way doesn't mean that you're gonna repeat the same thing again the next day. Sometimes we can get stuck in what has already happened. Once we establish a pattern and identify with that pattern, we internalize it. It becomes us. It becomes a trait of ours that we've now taken on. Just because this has been the pattern up until this point doesn't mean we can't break the pattern today. Yesterday happened, the pattern was the pattern, and today is an opportunity to change it if we want to break the pattern, to do something different, because yesterday happened and it's over and it's not real anymore. It's not real. And that means every day is just a new opportunity. Hopefully next year I'll have 23 more life lessons to share with you guys. I'm sure I will. I learn more and more every day. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video, Camely.